Welcome back. Today we'll be covering Genesis 31:32. Then Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that belonged to our father, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Jacob saw that the face of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly toward him as formerly. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kin, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and he said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not friendly toward me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You also know that I have served your father with all my power. Yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to harm me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock bore speckled. And if he spoke thus, the striped shall be your wages, then all the flock bore striped. Thus God has delivered your father's livestock and given them to me. Now it happened at the time when the flock were mating, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream. And behold, the male goats were mating, were striped, speckled, and mottled. Then the angel of the God said to me in the dream, Jacob? And I said, Here I am. He said, Lift up now your eyes and see that all the male goats which are mating are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your kin. Then Rachel and Leah said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not counted by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the riches which God has delivered over us from our father belong to us and our children. And now then, do whatever God has said to you. Then Jacob arose and put his children and his wives upon camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his possessions which he had accumulated, his acquired stock which he had accumulated in Padan-aram, in order to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Now Laban had gone to shear his flock. Then Rachel stole the household idols that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had. And he rose and crossed the river and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. Then it was told to Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled. So he took his relatives with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Aramean in the dream of the night and said to him, Beware, lest you speak to Jacob either good or bad. So Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his relatives camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, What have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with gladness and with songs, with tambourine and with lyre, and not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Now you have acted foolishly. It is in my hand to do evil against you, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Beware of speaking either good or evil to Jacob. So now you have indeed gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my goods? Then Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, because I said, Lest you take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your God shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, recognize what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maidservants, but he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban felt through all the tent but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of women is upon me. So he searched but did not find the household idols. Then Jacob became angry and contended with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have felt through all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Place it here before my relatives and your relatives, that they may decide between us too. These 20 years I have been with you, your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flocks. That which you have torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was by the day heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the dread of Isaac had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered the decision last night. Then Laban answered and said to Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these daughters of mine, or to the children that they have borne? So now come, let us cut a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and raised it up as a pillar, and Jacob said to his relatives, Gather stones. So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. And Laban called it Jagar-Hestad, but Jacob called it Galeed. Then Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore I was named Galeed and Mizpah, for the Lord said, May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from the other. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold, this heap, and behold, the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I shall not pass by this heap to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the dread of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his relatives to eat a meal. And they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban rose early in the morning and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. Now Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Then Jacob said, when he saw them, This is God's camp. So he named that place Mahanaim. Now Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He also commanded them, saying, Thus you shall say to my lord to Esau, Thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and have been delayed until now, and I have oxen and donkeys and flocks and female and male sight. And I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to your brother, to Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, If Esau comes to the one camp and strikes it, then the camp which remains will escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O the Lord, who said to me, Return to your land and to your kin, and I will prosper you. I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the truth which you have shown to your slaves. For you, my staff, only I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come down and strike me down with the mothers and the children. For you said, I will surely prosper you and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered. So he spent the night there. Then he took from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. And he gave them into the hand of his servants, every flock by itself, and said to his servants, Pass on before me and put a space between flocks. And he commanded the first one in front, saying, When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, To whom do you belong, and where are you going, and to whom do these animals in front of you belong? Then you shall say, These belong to your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord, to Esau. And behold, he also is behind us. Then he commanded also the second and the third, and all those who followed with the flocks, saying, After this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him, and you shall say, Behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us. For he said, I will appease his face with the present that goes before me. Then afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will lift up my face. So the present passed on before him, while he himself spent that night in camp. And he arose that same night and took his 2 wives and his 2 servant women and his 11 children and crossed the fjord of the Jabbok. And he took them and sent them across the stream. And he sent across whatever he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of dawn. And he saw that he had not prevailed against him. So he touched the socket of his thigh, and so the socket of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, Let me go, for the dawn is breaking. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. Then he said, Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him and said, Please tell me your name. But he said, Why is it that you ask my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been delivered. And the sun rose upon him just as he crossed over Peniel, and he was limping on his thigh. Therefore to this day the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew of the hip which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the hip. Genesis 31 offers a compelling narrative that reveals several concepts and problem-solving techniques we can incorporate into our daily lives, especially in terms of conflict resolution, trust, and personal growth. In this chapter, we find the story of Jacob's departure from Laban's household, a decision driven by various tensions, deceptions, and ultimately a quest for self-determination. At its core, Genesis 31 teaches us about the complexity of human relationships and the value of strategic thinking in dealing with challenges. Jacob, after years of hard work and deception at the hands of Laban, decides it's time to leave and return to his homeland. This decision wasn't made hastily. Jacob planned and communicated his intentions carefully. This shows the importance of patience and thoughtfulness before taking action, especially when navigating a tense situation. In everyday life, when faced with a difficult decision or conflict, it's crucial to pause, evaluate the circumstance, and plan our steps thoughtfully rather than act impulsively. Another key takeaway is the importance of integrity and trust in relationships. Jacob's relationship with Laban had deteriorated due to deceit, dishonesty, and exploitation. But Jacob chose not to retaliate in kind. Instead, he communicated his grievances directly with Laban, which offers a model for confronting problems openly rather than allowing resentment to fester. By addressing issues head on, we can often resolve conflicts more effectively without letting them spiral into larger problems. The chapter also highlights the necessity of boundaries and self-respect. Jacob's decision to leave was driven by a need to reclaim control over his life and his future. Similarly, in our own lives, knowing when to set boundaries and take a step back from toxic or unproductive situations is a powerful problem-solving tool. Sometimes the best solution to a problem is removing ourselves from a harmful or stifling environment. Finally, Genesis 31 reveals the value of divine guidance in decision making. Throughout the narrative, Jacob is guided by God's revelations and promises. This speaks to the importance of seeking wisdom and higher guidance when forced with major life decisions. Whether through prayer, reflection, or seeking counsel from trusted mentors, the practice of seeking guidance can help ensure that we are making the best choices for our personal well being. In summary, the concept we can learn from Genesis 31 are patience, integrity, setting boundaries, and seeking guidance. These can all be implemented as practical problem-solving techniques in our daily lives, helping us to navigate challenges with wisdom and composure. Genesis 32 presents a powerful narrative that delves into the internal struggle and external conflict that Jacob faces as he prepares to confront his brother Esau. After many years of separation, this chapter offers profound lessons about fear, reconciliation, humility, and the transformative power of vulnerability. In the context of daily life, it provides us with problem-solving techniques that we can apply to our own struggles with uncertainty, relationships, and personal growth. The story begins with Jacob hearing that Esau is approaching with a large group of men, which immediately sparks fear in Jacob's heart. He anticipates that Esau may still harbor anger over their past, and Jacob's first instinct is to prepare for the worst by dividing his camp into two groups, hoping to minimize the loss if Esau attacks. This shows a practical and strategic approach to problem solving. When faced with a challenging or threatening situation, it's wise to break the problem down into manageable parts rather than confronting the problem all at once. Jacob wisely creates a contingency plan, reflecting the idea that in life, it's essential to anticipate potential outcomes and prepare accordingly. However, Jacob's approach goes beyond the strategic. After sending gifts to Esau in an attempt to appease him and praying to God for protection, Jacob's most significant moment when he wrestles with a mysterious man, later revealed as God or an angel, through the night. This wrestling represents Jacob's internal conflict, where he confronts not only his fears, but also his guilt, insecurities, and the weight of his past actions. The concept of wrestling with one's inner demons is vital. Sometimes the most significant battles we face are not with others, but with ourselves. Jacob's decision to persist in the struggle, refusing to let go until he receives a blessing, teaches us about perseverance and the value of pushing through difficulties, even when the path is unclear or painful. This scene also illustrates the power of humility. When Jacob is finally touched by the figure and his hip is wrenched, he is physically altered, symbolizing how life-changing experiences can often reshape us. The injury serves as a humbling reminder that we cannot control every aspect of our struggles, and sometimes vulnerability is a necessary part of growth. In daily life, we can apply this by accepting that not every challenge can be overcome with sheer force or control. Humility in the face of our limitations and vulnerabilities can be a crucial tool for navigating personal and professional conflicts. Finally, Jacob's encounter with the divine leads to his name being changed to Israel, which means he who struggles with God. This signifies a profound transformation, both in his character and his relationship with God. It shows that personal growth and reconciliation often require enduring inner conflict and surrendering to a higher purpose. In real life problem solving, this teaches us that sometimes the most meaningful solutions come when we are open to change and allow our experiences to shape us into better versions of ourselves. In conclusion, Genesis 32 teaches valuable lessons in dealing with fear, internal conflict, and the importance of humility and perseverance. By breaking down our problems, facing our inner struggles, and embracing vulnerability, we can find resolution in challenging situations. And like Jacob, we may emerge from our struggles transformed, with a deeper understanding of ourselves and renewed sense of purpose. Now it's time for battle time with Granny. Here's the hat. Children ask so many questions because their minds are like sponges, absorbing everything around them. At an early age, they are constantly encountering new experiences, ideas, and sensations, and their curiosity is the natural response to the vastness of the world they are trying to make sense of. In many ways, this behavior is deeply rooted in the human instinct for survival and learning. Philosophically speaking, children embody the essence of curiosity that Socrates, the great philosopher, spoke about. Socrates believed that knowledge begins with recognizing our own ignorance, and children, in their innocence, are the epitome of this process. They have not yet built the complex layers of knowledge that adults have, so they naturally inquire about the things they don't understand. Their constant questioning is their way of trying to fill in the gaps, to understand how the world works, and to make sense of their environment. On a cognitive level, children are in the process of developing their understanding of language, concepts, and the relationships between objects, people, and actions. On a cognitive level, children are in the process of developing their understanding of language, concepts, and the relationships between objects, people, and actions. As they grow, they start to piece together how things fit together, and they rely on questions to guide them in this learning process. Their questions are not just about seeking factual information. They're also about testing boundaries, exploring cause and effect, and understanding their place in the world. Moreover, asking questions is an essential part of developing critical thinking skills. As children explore their world, they seek to understand it, and by asking questions, they learn how to evaluate and analyze information. For instance, when a child asks, "Why is the sky blue?" they are not just asking for an answer, they are beginning the process of engaging with scientific curiosity and developing reasoning skills. There's also a social component to why children ask so many questions. When they ask questions, they engage with the people around them, usually adults. So, in doing so, they form connections and learn about the dynamics of communication and relationships. Their questions are ways of reaching out for guidance, seeking approval, or simply learning how to interact with the world socially. Another reason children ask questions is that they are inherently open minded. As we grow older, we tend to accumulate knowledge and patterns of thinking, often becoming more certain of our assumptions. Children, however, don't yet have this extensive knowledge base, so they remain more open and curious. Their questions reflect an innate desire to explore possibilities rather than settle for simple answers. So, children ask so many questions because they are in the process of constructing their understanding of the world around them, testing their assumptions, developing critical thinking skills, and forming connections with others. Their constant questioning is an essential part of how they learn and grow, and it reflects the deep human need for understanding and meaning. In this sense, perhaps we could all learn something from their unrelenting curiosity, to ask questions with the same openness and wonder. Asking questions is a powerful tool for reshaping how we perceive the world. At its core, questioning opens up new possibilities for understanding, growth, and insight. Philosophers like Socrates champion the importance of questioning as the foundation of knowledge, as he believed that asking the right questions leads to deeper truths. So when we begin to ask questions, whether about our surroundings, ourselves, or the beliefs we hold, we invite curiosity and a willingness to explore beyond the surface. First, asking questions challenges our assumptions. We often walk through life with established patterns of thought and fixed beliefs, which can limit our perception of the world. When we question those beliefs, whether about a situation, a person, or even our own actions. We break free from those constraints and open ourselves to new ways of thinking. For example, instead of simply accepting a difficult situation as bad, asking, what can I learn from this? This shifts our perspective from one of defeat to one of opportunity for growth. In this way, questioning forces us to confront our biases and expand our understanding. Additionally, questioning encourages a mindset of curiosity, which fosters lifelong learning. Rather than seeing knowledge as a fixed body of facts, we begin to see it as a never ending process. Every question we ask is an invitation to explore, and with each new answer, new questions emerge. This cycle of inquiry, asking, answers, inquiring, this goes round and round. This cycle of inquiry keeps our minds sharp and agile, helping us to constantly reevaluate our surroundings and adapt to new challenges. It creates a world where curiosity and discovery become a natural part of our everyday lives. Lastly, asking questions often uncovers hidden truths or insights. In philosophy, there's the concept of the examined life, a life that questions its purpose, its ethics, and its values. When we ask questions about the meaning of our own lives, about the ethics of our actions, or about the nature of the world around us, we are engaging in deeper exploration of existence itself. Through these inquiries, we may uncover truths that were previously obscured, leading us to live more intentional, thoughtful lives. In essence, asking questions shifts our perception of the world by encouraging us to think critically, empathize deeply, remain curious, and uncover hidden truths. It's a reminder that the world is not static, but it's constantly unfolding. And through questioning, we can be active participants in that unfolding process. Now, on to the finale episode of Ellen and Questions. By now, Ellen knew that there was no turning back. The path she had been walking had become a tightrope, with nothing below but the unknown. She had asked questions that had pulled her deeper and deeper into a reality she couldn't understand. But the truth, the final truth, still eluded her, and she was determined to find it, no matter what. The city outside her window seemed different tonight. The lights felt harsher, the shadows darker. She'd been seeing things in a new way ever since that moment in the church. Since the light had consumed her, it was as though her mind was no longer limited to the world she knew. The boundaries had dissolved, and she was floating in some kind of a limbo between both worlds. Tonight, she stood in front of the mirror again, the weight of the question she had been carrying pressing heavily on her chest. What was the purpose of all this? What had she uncovered? She could feel the answer just out of reach, but it was there. It was waiting for her. And that's when it hit her. The final question, the one she'd been avoiding. What is the purpose of existence? It'd been there, lingering in the back of her mind all along, and now it was time to face it, to ask it. But could she handle the answer? Was she ready for what would come next? She closed her eyes, her hands trembling as she reached for Hattie's journal once again. The pages felt heavier tonight, as if they were no longer just words on a paper. They were a key to something much larger. She opened the book to the last entry Hattie had written. It was simple, cryptic, and to the point. The question is not the end, it is the beginning. Ellen read those words over and over. She had seen them before, but tonight they felt different. Tonight they meant something. She wasn't just searching for the truth anymore. She was searching for herself. She stood up slowly, and the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The lights flickered again, this time more violently. The air seemed to vibrate, as though the very space around her was alive. And then she asked it, What is the purpose of existence? The moment the words left her lips, the room changed. It wasn't the lights or the shadows that changed, it was everything. Ellen felt at first this shift in the air, like a breath taken by the universe itself. The walls seemed to stretch out, the colors in the room blurring. She couldn't focus, couldn't tell where she ended and the world began. And then the light appeared. It wasn't a flash, it wasn't an overwhelming glow that blinded her. It was something deeper, a presence. It was as if the very essence of light had manifested, filling the room with a warm, ethereal glow that made the world feel alive. The light surrounded her, not in a way that blinded, but in a way that made her see everything. Everything. She could see herself, not just her reflection, but her soul. She could see all the choices she had made, all the paths she had walked, all the questions she had asked. She could see her hopes, her fears, her regrets. And in that moment, Ellen realized that the question was never about finding an answer. It was about understanding who she had become by asking it. The light didn't give her a simple answer. It didn't tell her the meaning of life or what she was supposed to do next. Instead, it showed her something more powerful. It showed her that the search for truth, her search, had always been about her journey, her growth. The purpose of existence wasn't something to be found. It was something to be lived. And in that living, she had found herself. Ellen stood there, bathed in the light and her heart racing, her mind swirling with everything she had just experienced. The room seemed to pulse with energy, the walls breathing with her as if the entire universe was aligning with her understanding. And then, as suddenly as it had come, the light faded. The room was still again, the air calm, but Ellen knew she had changed. The truth wasn't a destination. It was a journey, and she had walked it. In the days that followed, Ellen felt a shift within herself. The questions she had asked, the things she had uncovered, none of them mattered in the way she had expected. They had all been steps leading her to this moment of understanding. The light had shown her not just the world, but herself. And now she was ready to live with it. She stood in front of the mirror again, looking at her reflection. This time, she saw herself clearly. She wasn't lost anymore. She had found what she needed, not in the answers, but in the asking. And that, she realized, was the purpose. But as she turned away from the mirror, she couldn't shake the feeling that something else was out there, something waiting for her, just beyond the reach of her understanding. Was the journey really over? As Ellen left her apartment, stepping out into the world once again, the city felt different. The air was charged with possibility. She didn't have all the answers, and maybe she never would. But she knew one thing for sure. The search, her search, wasn't over. It only just began. Sometimes the answers we seek don't come in the form we expect. Sometimes the questions themselves shape us into something more. Ellen's journey for the truth has led her to a deeper understanding of herself, and perhaps in that understanding, she's found the purpose she was searching for all along. But as with all journeys, the road ahead is never truly complete. Follow your journey, ask the questions. That is the journey. I'm Meryl, and this is Battleground. I hope you never stop asking questions. Subscribe and share. Click here for Bible-related stuff, and click here for more crazy granny battle time. Goodbye.